Welcome back to Teen Titans Classics, the new Teen Titans era. Yes, this era that was started by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And in this episode, we're going over issues. Excuse me. Drop something. It's there. Okay. We're going to go over issues 6 through 8 in this episode. First up, issue 6. Look at that gorgeous cover by George Perez. Yeah, it's basically just it's part 2 of this particular story of the first battle between the Teen Titans and Trigon. You have the story opens up with sort of with the prelude of these look like Viking warriors praising Trigon for his return, and you get a chance to see Trigon basically sort of have a decent conversation, at least a decent interaction with his own daughter. And you see them basically just walking about, talking to people. And this little girl called him a monster because he really is. He felt insulted by it, and he just turned her into and as punishment for he has a blood boil. And then Raven was offended by assault, accosted him for this, and she healed the little girl. Now, the way her powers work is that she touches them, and she sort of brings it into herself, and then the boil just go away. That's the way that's one of her powers is healing. And he says that it was a waste of power to use the healing thing, and then pretty much the child was reduced. And even though the child was healed by Raven, Trigon just reduced the child to dust. Now, I'm not going to show that particular image because I'm like, really, Trigon? Really? Your own daughter just undid your mistake and you did something else worse. And then we have sort of Trigon basically sort of meeting the queen of this particular area, an area he rules over. And trying to think here. Yeah. Then we cut over to the Teen Titans, who are someplace, who basically are at Azarath, and they see Raven's mother Arella putting on a cloak, and then basically Kid Flash basically calling her out basically on having leave Raven to rot on Trigon's planet. So they come up with a decision to simply just save him. So they decided to go and try to save her. So one of the leaders basically tries to tell them violence will be more violence, and talk about subjugation. And then they decided to cut away to tell the origin story of Arella, where she was sort of someone who was keen to witchcraft. Then she got in contact with Trigon in his human form, and then they tried to mate after they were married. And then Trigon reverted back to his regular demonic form, and then he decided to rape her. Yeah, it's implied that she was raped. Now, lucky enough, George Perez doesn't show it, but he does show Arella, well, even though she's probably already had sex with him already, basically it's heavily implied that Trigon raped Arella. When she found out that he was evil incarnate, that's when he decided to rape her. And he beat her too. And she wandered on the streets for a little while. And when she found out she was pregnant, she gave birth to then of course later on she gave birth to Raven, who was basically having her demonic heritage. And Cyborg has to end this little history lesson. So now they decided to go to Raven's world, and they do. They travel on this cosmic staircase. I'm not sure exactly where this thing came from. And they go to Trigon's world. And they go around, beat up demons, made up a Trigon, and this time they they send his guard, and of course Raven's reunited with her mother. And of course Trigon sends his demons out to protect the townspeople wherever they are. And Arella fights Trigon, but nearly costs her life basically. Then somehow he's sort of defeated but not killed. That's going to happen later. But somehow during this period of time, Trigon had captured the Teen Titans, and then Raven frees them with this magic key that she somehow has. It's not explained exactly. It's probably implied that Arella probably gave it to her. So then the Teen Titans go on and fight Trigon's demons, and then they go fight Trigon himself, and he's sent into some kind of black hole, and he disappears for a while. Issue 6 is a pretty decent issue for what it is. It's a nice conclusion to the first round with Trigon, and I give the issue sort of an 8.5 out of 10. It's a decent issue, but it's kind of another one of those issues where there's lots of exposition, and also the implied rape is something that probably is, well, it's part of Teen Titans history, so it's not best to ignore it. Now, I'm sure this probably also happened with Arella in the current continuity, but it's never stated because Arella has never shown up. Trigon has, Arella hasn't. So now we cut away to issue number 7, where it has the return of the Fearsome Five. First time in a few issues. Now this one I think, as far as I can, this one's a better issue than the previous one. Now it seems like, with the exception of the Terror Trigon story later on, this first battle was just okay. Yes. But the book does get better. So they return to Azarath, and then they return to Earth, where they just go home to their tower. Now this issue is very important. This is a key issue right here that anybody should read. So they decide just to go walk around New York for a bit, and then we cut over to the headquarters of the Fearsome Five, which apparently, well, we got 4 out of 5. However, Simon is still in some other dimension. I thought that Trigon probably killed him. The Fearsome Five at this point is still the same 5 people. Gizmo, Dr. Light, Strategium, and Mammoth. That's it. Same 5 people. Doesn't change. And then we cut away, and then we have them basically using, and they travel to launch this full-scale assault on Titan's Tower, which is basically the first time this building has ever been actually attacked, as far as I can tell. And they break through the door, and someone's watched them. Silas Stone. Good God, because everybody's answer that dang phone. Really, it irritates me. Anyways, of course, the Titans come back home and they notice that part of the building looks like it's been damaged. Raven goes in and then she's knocked out by Dr. Light. Yep, she's knocked out by Dr. Light. But she sends Sosa basically to warn Teen Titans about the basically, she doesn't tell them anything, but they go into the tower anyways. They wake her up. This is dangerous, but now this is a page I should definitely show. This is one thing I'm glad George Perez did. He drew an actual indirect blueprint of the Titans Tower itself, from the living quarters, rec room, everything. Yep. Even the hangar where the ship is. And they eventually and they try to get Simon out of wherever he is, and of course Cyborg is injured. Raven heals him, and of course then Robin takes on Shimmer, and I think he defeats her. Then Starfire and Wonder Girl take on Mammoth, and he does defeat Wonder Girl. Then Wonder Girl sits out a window, and Starfire is knocked out of his feet. And Robin takes on Robin and Beast Boy take on Gizmo. But then Starfire wakes up, and of course she rescues Robin. And then Gizmo's easily knocked out by Cyborg. Yep. Probably the easiest victory that he can ever achieve. And of course, Raven heals Robin. And then they find out. And then somehow Simon is freed from his prison that Trigon imprisoned him a few issues back. And they hold Silas Stone hostage. And of course, Cyborg is still hating on his father. And of course, it's revealed to them that of course they freed him. Saying, "All right, my friends agreed with me. This is all they wanted from this to leave." And they're all stunned basically because they all wanted to leave, and of course leave with Silas Stone alive. And of course Simon's taken out, and they all have the rematch. And of course the fight goes on for a few pages. Mom is knocked out. Dr. Light is easily taken out by Robin by simply just doing nothing, just poking him in the face. And then of course Cyborg goes to talking to Silas, and he explains to him that he built the place sort of he built Titan's Tower as a home for Victor and his friends. And he's so accosted by him, then Raven's telling him that he's telling the truth. And then pretty much it cuts away to sort of telling his origin story again. Though it's only told for like one page. Well, it's told like his athletes. They of course tell about what happened to his mother. And of course shows his origin story of how he was transformed into Cyborg, into his current form, his father dead too. In time, the fact that of course that reveals to him that he is suffering through a disease that's killing him. And they spend the last couple pages and they reconcile, and they have sort of a father-son thing that they do for like what appears for like 2 months, and then the issue ends with the death of Silas Stone. Now, the reason why I say issue 7 is a key issue because it's not only revealing that Silas Stone is responsible for the creation of the Titan's Tower, but this issue is also mark his death. Now, I know he's in the current continuity, but this was a nice issue. It was nice for Make the Fearsome 5. Kind of tie up a loose end. It's a good thing Marv Wolfman and George Perez didn't have a storyline last particular time, with the exception of Deathstroke, which that lasted for a few years. But the whole Fearsome 5 thing, that was one subplot I'm glad they wrapped up. But so far, issue 7 was a nice issue. You also have Cyborg reconciling with his father. And I give the issue a 9.25 out of 10. It's a really good issue and a welcome new pace. Then you have a standalone issue called A Day in the Lives of the Teen Titans. Now this issue is noteworthy for one particular thing. It's the introduction of 2 new characters, one of whom is important to Wonder Girl. I'm going to reveal who he is as soon as he shows him. The issue opens up with Starfire flying. And then she goes to a studio where Donna Troy is taking pictures of women showing off their backs. Women who are, in fact, topless. Yep, topless women show off their backs. So basically, the models. And everybody's like this guy who was supposed to be her employer who hired her. Apparently, he hates the photos. And then they cost her for a little while. It's also this little girl Candy, and then this is so funny. He says, "Hi Donna, am I late for lunch?" And everybody's like, "What?" And there's Starfire in normal clothes, not in her outfit, but it's a nice change of attire. Everybody's so shocked to see her, and then she sort of gets hired on the spot to become a model for them. And then we get introduction of 2 new supporting characters, one of whom is Terry Long, the guy who later marries Donna Troy in issue 50 of this series. Yeah, I know it's a spoiler, but it's been well established. Anybody who's a long-time comic fan knows that once you get that far. And You also see Robin flying, coming back from a on a look like a Titan's glider, I think it is, or at least a small like little jet. Maybe not because Robin's psycho, but it's something. And of course, you have Raven at Titan's Tower, just meditating, her sending her soul self around the place. Apparently, she finds up with some revolutionaries, and nice little issue. And of course, Raven gets his soul self back in time. And we cut to the return of a character who basically builds toys. And then we have Vic. Then we have Vic moving into his father's apartment. You know, he's rich. Basically, one thing both Cyborg and Beast Boy have in common is that they both come from rich families. Because even though that Cyborg got it from his biological father, Beast Boy is rich due to his adopted parents. Well, it was mainly his adopted father. And then all of a sudden there's a phone call in Vic's apartment, and it's from his business manager, who he calls by his last name. It says there's an emergency at Dalton Industries that requires his attention. And so he and Cyborg go over there, because Cyborg has really nothing else to do. And of course they walk on the streets, and of course Beast Boy transforms into a rhino. But before he goes off to see whatever's going on with Dalton Industries, he goes to visit his apartment of his old girlfriend, Mercy. Yeah, he goes to visit her apartment and to check up on her because he hasn't seen her since before the accident. And then after he realized because of the way he looks, he doesn't love her anymore, he just leaves. And then cut away to, and then he walks into, I think it's supposed to be Central Park, because it's New York City. I think it's Central Park, from what I can tell. And of course, he gets hit in the head by a baseball. Of course, he's fine. And, well, sure, kid. And he's sort of like shocked at his hand. And then he realizes, though, that he has one thing in common with this little boy. This little boy has got a prosthetic hand. And he's like, okay, that's interesting. And then we meet Sarah Sims, making her first ever appearance in the universe, DC Universe. Now, in case anybody in the comments below tells me, oh, Sarah Sims is in the current continuity and she's black. I know that because I read Justice League. That's how I know that. But it's nice the fact that they have her introduced here. And they sort of get into, and they sort of have a loose connect. They're close to each other, but I don't think they start an actual relationship. And the kids love Victor because, well, they have no problem with it because they're all, because I think they're, I think she's a special needs teacher with kids who have prosthetics, which I do appreciate Marvel and George Perez are creating this character. She's a nice character, very cheerful, and then we cut away to Raven basically screaming because he sees all this stuff. Basically, maybe look like the Gordanians that might return. Her just going through about the place, and then we have Wally. Constantly, he should retire, but and here's the thing: his parents know he's Kid Flash. That is one thing that's really nice. Marvel George Perez have established is the fact that they know he's Kid Flash and they have no problem with it at all because he's focused on his studies despite the fact being him. And here's the West. No, this is not Iris West. It's just I think this guy here is supposed to be one of Iris's brothers. Now I don't know who exactly it's supposed to be, what his name is, but you can leave in the comments below who is Wally's parents pre-Flashpoint. And they said we'll have a nice conversation. Look like they're having like a turkey dinner. And then we cut away to Raven. Look like she's still going through like some demons. And of course, and this lasts for like about a page and a half. And you see, and then we cut away to Starfire posing. Yep, she's posing. Not Playboy, no, just posing for this magazine. And of course, Terry is basically, oh, and for some reason I'm not sure if George Perez did this on purpose. Well, there's one panel here where even though he's got a full beard, There's one panel here where he's missing his mustache. I don't know why that's like that, but it is. And of course, now Terry doesn't have a problem with the fact that Starfire is a gorgeous woman because he's already dated a gorgeous woman already. So now I think he's of the rule for all men who are with other women. They can look, but they can't touch. And he's a real gentleman, says goodbye to her by kissing her hand. Yep, kisses her hand. That's what he does. Yep. And she's sort of like surprised that he did that. And then she just strips right in Central Park in front of this guy reading a paper. I am not kidding about this. She strips in Central Park, a public place, right in front of a guy who's reading a newspaper who was surprised to see her do this. I'm like, really, Starfire? You couldn't find a bush or something? You had to strip right in the middle of a Central Park? Like, what if there was kids around? Saying, well, I'm sure for any adult male seeing a naked Starfire in Central Park, everybody would probably be dropping their jaws seeing that. But this guy just cites a little shock look on his face. Of course, she goes flying. And there's a kid basically runs out in front of a runaway horse. And of course, she stops the horse by zapping with one of her star bolts. Okay. And we cut away, and it shows that the kid is part of that class with part of Sarah Sims' class. And then the issue ends with this this rich guy who's basically just talking like he's talking I think it's supposed to be his grandson to bed, and talk about Project Prometheum, and he says he hears something he thinks is his grandson. He says nothing more drink. He says, oh my gosh, like, oh my goodness, my God. And then he's shot dead by this toy I'd say toy cowboy. And then in the end of the issue it says, Pearl of the Puppeteer. The Puppeteer is an old Green Lantern villain. He was the first villain in the Green Lantern that Hal Jordan fought at the start of his ongoing series back in the early 60s. And according to the next trade, this is the first time since that first appearance that he's been seen. Apparently he's been in jail for 20 years. So what did I think of issue 8? Issue 8 is a great issue, and it's a nice introduction to both Terry Long and Sarah Sims, who become long-time supporting characters in this particular era of the Teen Titans. Overall, I give New Teen Titans number 8 a 9.5 out of 10. It's a really awesome issue. Not much action in there, but I guess it's supposed to be a breather from the previous 7 issues of the series. So that's that. Alright, stay tuned for the next episode, which should be covering issues 9 and 10. But until then, I'll see you there. Bye.